Welcome to the first Q&A session so far. Got quite a few questions in there. First question was asked by a lady, of course, but gentlemen, feel free to ask this question. How do I build a bigger butt? Quick answer, do single leg work. So we're talking lunges, step back lunges, step ups, Bulgarian split squats, rear foot elevated split squats, front foot elevated split squats, standard split squats, even single leg deadlifts, king deadlifts, those types of things tend to be the best butt builders. The hips are a little bit slower twitch muscle fibers, so higher reps tends to work a little bit better for doing those types of things. That is your brief answer with how do I build a bigger butt. Really good question asked here, what are the benefits of carb cycling? There's a lot of benefits to carb cycling, and this is going to kind of play on a different question here. And carb cycling could be good, it could be bad. It just really depends on whatever your specific goals are, right? If you have a specific goal to do X, Y, and Z, lose fat, get it ready for a competition, do an endurance race, bodybuilding, whatever, carb cycling can be beneficial. It can also be beneficial to improve or increase fat loss. So the first benefit of carbohydrate cycling is it creates a thirst of your cells. So when your cell becomes thirsty, then it has the ability to supercompensate. So each muscle cell has about each glycogen store in your muscle cell has about 3 grams of water that is attached to it. So that's going to increase fullness. So if you deplete that, it increases the thirst, then you can supercompensate and create more muscle fluid, more muscle fullness, which is very easily usable and appropriate for exercise. So a lot of bodybuilders, endurance athletes, are going to benefit from a high carb day after a couple of low carb day cycles. When your body is in a depleted glycogen state or a low carbohydrate state, fatty acid metabolism is actually going to increase. So fat loss is one of your primary goals, and going on a low carb diet for a period of time can train your body to use fat a little bit more effectively. When you do have the low carb day cycled with a high carb day, it helps maintain your appropriate metabolic rate. So anytime we change anything in our body tries to adapt and bring us back to homeostasis. So a low carbohydrate diet typically is going to slow down someone's general metabolic rate, but if you periodically increase carbohydrates, that can slow down or even prevent the amount of metabolic slowdown. And it's psychological. So sometimes if you reduce the amount of carbohydrates, it can actually decrease cravings for a while, but at the same time, you need to look forward to that carb up day. So a lot of my clients, I'll give them, a carb up day every 5 or 6 days, and they can make it through those kind of tougher low carb days because they know there's a little bit of a break, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So there are a lot of benefits to carbohydrate cycling. Not for everyone, but if you're someone who's really trying to lose fat or change your body composition, it's a really good strategy to use. Next question is, to lose weight, should I get all these questions, that's kind of why I put a ... Should I count my calories? Should I weigh my food? Should I follow an if it fits your macros diet, or should I just focus on clean eating? Should I do paleo? Should I do like a zone type of diet? Listen, all diets work. So the answer is yes. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred from one place to another. So how your body processes and manages calories is super duper key. We don't have a major impact on our body's utilization of calories, but we do have a huge amount of control about how many calories we take in. So to take away some confusion, yeah, counting calories absolutely works. Weighing food, yeah, that's kind of how you make sure those calories are there. But again, it kind of comes down to the next question, which is, how does lifestyle come into this? Do I want to count calories until I die? Do I want to weigh my food every day until I die? So is it sustainable? And generally speaking, counting calories and stuff like that is not sustainable. Can I get from point A to point B in a particular span of time by counting calories? For sure. Can it be a really good teaching tool to help me realize what it is I'm actually eating? So then when I start to back off counting and weighing food, I've got a better eyeball effect, and I learned how to help satiate myself just by restricting or managing the amount of servings that I'm getting of particular food. So the other question that that person asked was, or how do I know how many calories that my body needs? I will tell you one good website is exrx.net. So exrx, like exercise prescription .net. You can plug in your age, weight, height, or body fat, and then say what hours you're resting, what hours you're doing light work, moderate work, heavy work. There's a description on what constitutes as light or heavy work. And then it will calculate up your average daily metabolic expenditure. With most people, if it's for a fat loss, and since we're talking about fat loss, I typically say start at your maintenance level calories and see where your body goes from there. Most people, honestly, at first when they eat their maintenance level calories on a consistent basis, actually lose body fat. So don't start too low, start at the upper end there, okay? The question that I really like here, I probably should have put this first, but can I tell what diet works best? Well, best for what? That's always the main question that we have to ask when we talk about any kind of goals. It has to be a specific goal. There's a huge difference in how a marathon runner is going to eat because they're training for performance and endurance. So say they want to have a very, very high calorie based diet relative to some, maybe a wrestler who's trying to keep in a really, really low weight class. The goals are specific. So what works best for that particular person depends on what their goal is. In general, pretty much every single dietary strategy needs to take into consideration two main things. One, what's my caloric intake need to be to get to whatever goal I need? So calories are super important. And then two, am I meeting the required essential nutrients intake for my body to function optimally, right? So we're talking vitamins, minerals, essential amino acids as in proteins, essential fatty acids, and water. So that's really the two main components to any healthy diet is like calories are appropriate and you're meeting optimal levels of vitamins and minerals. Really good question asked by my buddy here is, what advice would I have for somebody based on the mistakes that I've learned, that I've made in the past? I would say probably some of the bigger mistakes that I've made is finding a hero in the industry of strength and performance and believing that person was essentially the messiah of bodybuilding or whatever it was. Although I still have a tremendous amount of respect for the person that I'm thinking of, some of the things that they said were just not entirely true. So what I did wrong was I disregarded information that I was being fed because it didn't agree with a hero of mine's outlook on health and performance. So I would recommend to anybody out there, don't become dogmatic in any particular area of fitness. Learn what works best for you and for your clients. Apply that 98% of the time, but at the same time, continue to learn and experiment with new techniques that people may be coming out with, using some degree of discernment there. Final question is, this one's going to be a little bit deeper than some of the other ones, is I've got unstable knees. What can I do to help? Well, it depends. That's really what the answer is going to be for a lot of these things. But, we'd have to figure out what's going on with your knee. Is it an actual structural issue, like a ligament? Well, then there's nothing really that we can do besides stabilize around it. They kind of ask a specific question about ankle mobility. So the mobility of someone's ankle is very, very important for the stability of a knee. So if the ankle's not very mobile, then the mobility has to be transferred up the chain into my knee. If I'm if I'm really stiff in my ankle, then that can make my knee hyper mobile, which obviously knees aren't meant to go side to side. They're meant to be a lot more stable. But then you need to go above that joint as well and take a look at the hip, how the hip is focused, what kind of rotation might be happening at the knees. But in general, the answer is create as much mobility as functional with your ankles, right? So think about calves, tibia, all kinds of rotational stuff. Also work at mobility through the hips, making sure that your hips are fairly mobile. And then make sure that all the muscles that are surrounding your knee from the top and from the bottom are working in conjunction with each other in a functional, stable type of manner. All right? So thank you guys for the first Q&A. I look forward to answering any other questions you might have in the future. If you have any follow-up questions to this, feel free to ask on my Instagram page. Peace, love.